Lesson 56, Stems and Personal Endings. In this lesson, we want to take a moment to examine the Spanish verb a bit more closely. And I want to talk about two important parts of the verb, the stem and the personal ending. By this time in the program, you may have heard me say several times that the Spanish language comes directly from Latin, the language of the ancient Romans. And the ancient Romans had these different personal endings to their verbs. The endings would tell you what person the verb is and whether it's singular or plural. And that's just the way the Latin verb system works. And since Spanish comes directly from Latin, the Spanish verb system has the same type of thing. We have these different endings for the verbs. And as we say here in the second paragraph, the first part of the verb is called the stem. And you can see some stems here like T-E-N-G, T-I-E-N, and T-E-N. That's the base of the verb, or the stem as we call it. And then we're going to take these special endings, which we call the personal endings, and we're going to stick them onto the stem. So when you have the stem and the ending together, that makes a complete verb form. Now in this lesson, I'm just briefly touching on the subject of stems. We're going to talk about verb stems a lot later. But right now I just want to sort of make you aware of a stem, just make you aware that there is a stem and that we're adding the endings to the stem. More about that later. But for now, let's take a look at these special endings. You may have noticed by now that whenever you have a verb that's first person plural, it always ends in MOS. And there's a reason for that, because that's the special ending for first person plural. The verb somos means we are, and that ends with MOS. And tenemos means we have, and that ends with MOS. So you can tell that there's this pattern here of the special ending that goes with that person and number for that verb. If it's we that's doing it, it's going to end with MOS. So that's kind of a pattern that we can use to help ourselves understand and translate these Spanish verbs. Again, this is just sort of an introductory lesson. We're not going to go too deep into this here in Lesson 56, but I just want to sort of raise your awareness of these issues here. So in order to do that, let's just take a quick look at this chart here. These are the personal endings for the verb yo tengo. Okay? In the first person singular, our form of yo tengo is yo tengo. So the stem there would be T-E-N-G, and then our ending here we see in the chart is the letter O. So when you have the first person singular form of yo tengo, we're going to add that O ending onto the verb. And that's going to tell us that it's first person singular. Again, this comes directly from Latin. In Latin, this same type of verb, first person singular, present tense, would end with the letter O. So this all comes directly from the Latin language. In the second person singular form of the verb, we have tienes, and that's going to end with es. The first part of that word is the stem. So we have the stem and then the special personal ending, which is es. Then in the third person singular, we have the letter E. That's the special personal ending for third person singular. That form of yo tengo would be tiene. And then going to the top of the next column, we have EMOS. That's our special ending. That form of yo tengo would be tenemos. So the stem would be T-E-N, and then the part that we see here, EMOS, that's the special personal ending. In the second person plural, we have EIS as the ending. The form of yo tengo would be tenéis, so the stem would be T-E-N, and then EIS would be the special personal ending. In the third person plural, we have EN as the special ending. The form here of this verb would be TNN. So the stem would be T-I-E-N, and then EN is the special personal ending. So again, the goal here in Lesson 56 is not to go into great depth about the Spanish verb system. It's just to give you a quick introduction to these basic concepts of a stem and then the personal endings, and it's to help you sort of see the pattern of the personal endings, because they're going to really be very similar to this from now on. You're going to see a lot of these same endings over and over again. So go ahead and familiarize yourselves with these endings now, and that will help you as we move forward into more and more different verbs.